What if the parts of yourself you fear most are the very parts you need to become whole? For most of my life, I was taught to fear half of existence. I was taught that some things were good and others were evil. Some things were holy and others were corrupt. Some parts of me deserve love, others deserve rejection. And because I was young, I believed it. How could I not? The people I trusted believed it. The people who taught me how to see the world believed it. So I inherited their divisions, their categories, their wars. And without realizing it, I turned those wars inward. I learned to judge myself, to hide parts of myself, to suppress desires, to bury emotions, to silence instincts. I learned to wear masks. I learned to smile when I wanted to scream, to appear strong when I felt broken, to appear pure when I felt human. And slowly, I began cutting away pieces of myself. Not because they were evil, but because I was told they were. The tragedy is that when you reject part of yourself, it does not disappear. It goes underground. It waits. It grows in the shadows. And one day it returns. Sometimes as anger, sometimes as addiction, sometimes as anxiety, sometimes as despair. Because nothing stays buried forever. Nature taught me that long before I understood it. The forest dies and returns. Winter gives way to spring. Fire destroys and nourishes. Death feeds life. The ocean needs both calm and storm. The heart needs both strength and vulnerability. Yet somehow we are taught that wholeness can be achieved through division, that we can become complete by rejecting half of ourselves. And I believe that for a long time I fought with my shadow. I fought with my pain. I fought with my desires. I fought with my fears. And every battle left me weaker because I was fighting myself. Then something changed, not all at once, not through a revelation, but through exhaustion. I became tired of war, tired of pretending, tired of carrying an identity built on self-rejection. And I began asking a different question. What if the shadow is not the enemy? What if the shadow is simply pain that has never been understood? What if darkness is not evil? What if darkness is suffering without love? And what if healing begins when the war inside finally ends? That question changed everything. Because instead of trying to destroy parts of myself, I began listening to them. Instead of condemning them, I became curious. Instead of pushing them away, I invited them closer. And what I discovered surprised me. Behind anger, there was hurt. Behind fear, there was vulnerability. Behind pride, there was insecurity. Behind control, there was the fear of being abandoned. The shadow was not a monster. The shadow was a messenger. A wounded part of myself carrying truths I did not want to hear. And slowly I began opening the gates. I gave a voice to the parts I had silenced. I gave space to the emotions I had denied. I allowed the saint and the beast to sit at the same table. The tears and the strength, the hunger and the wisdom, the light and the darkness. Because for the first time I understood something simple. Wholeness is not achieved by choosing one side against another. Wholeness is achieved by embracing the totality of what you are. Let me ask you something. What part of yourself have you spent most of your life trying to hide? Leave your answer in the comments, because I think every one of us carries an exile within, a part that longs to be seen, a part that longs to come home. And perhaps the greatest act of courage is not conquering the shadow. Perhaps it is welcoming it. Not because every impulse should be followed, not because every desire should be obeyed, but because everything must be understood. Everything must be brought into awareness. Everything must be transformed. Today, I no longer divide the world the way I once did. I no longer believe that growth comes from declaring war on half of existence. The night needs the dawn. The wound needs the healing. The fall teaches the rise. The shadow gives meaning to the light. And the deeper I watch his path, the more I see that life itself moves through opposites, not as enemies, but as partners, not as contradictions, but as a greater balance. Perhaps that is what awakening really is. Not becoming perfect, not becoming pure, but becoming whole. And when you finally stop fighting yourself, when you finally stop rejecting the parts you were taught to hate, you discover something extraordinary. The very things you feared most were never trying to destroy you. They were trying to lead you home.